Hello YouTube, and welcome to this second dating Q&A. This is your space for any questions you might have about women, relationships, love, sex, confidence in relation to intimacy, etc., etc. We inaugurated this dating Q&A 7 months ago, but because I had other projects I wanted to get done first, I took a hiatus before making this second part. If you have asked a question in the past, fear not, I saved them all. And today I'm going to answer another batch of them. We have 6 very interesting questions in relation to women, love, or relationships that I want to tackle today. I don't have any notes, so it's more of an instinctive and a more, in a sense, direct and spontaneous communication going on here because it's a Q&A. I don't want it to be scripted. If anyone who is going to watch this until the end is nice enough to timestamp it, I like your work, thank you very much, because it saves me a lot of energy that I can then use to make more videos like this one. So, let's get started right away with a question by Tanvir Singh. What are your thoughts on people getting bored in a relationship after a while? Does it mean there is a lack of mental stimulus, or was there no love between them to begin with? So this is a very interesting question because there's many layers to it. First and foremost, let's discuss boredom within the confine of a relationship. A relationship is great because it's very stable and you know what to expect. This is why people seek them out. But at the same time, it means they can get stale and boring after a while. It's not as exciting as it once was. A lot of men fall in love with the chase because trying to seduce a new woman is extremely exciting. Every new moment is blowing your mind, but then you settle into a routine, it starts becoming repetitive, and for a lot of guys, it's not exciting enough. They break it off and they get a new girl. The issue is that if that happens to you, you will never be able to build anything because it's the equivalent of starting to build a castle. And once the foundations or the structure at the start is built, you get bored, you start a new one, you will never actually build a castle in your life. So you have to be able to accept the fact that there will be some level of routine, there will be some level of repetition and boredom within a relationship. The issue is if this becomes all there is to the relationship. In this case, there's a problem because it should be, in a sense, a trade off, right? You trade the excitement of novelty for the security of having someone that loves you, protects you, provides for you, makes you feel better, takes care of you, etc., etc. If you have a good relationship, this will be so much benefits to you that any type of boredom that you might find in a relationship is not going to matter at all. This means also that for the type of people that gets constantly bored, it might very well be that you are either not getting the type of relationships that would fulfill you, or you have a tough time actually finding the right types of people for you. Myself and other men, you might find yourself in a string of bad relationships, which would convince you that there is no such thing as a good relationship or that all women are the same, that love doesn't exist, etc., etc. That is not true. It's simply that you were not looking in the right places. In which case, it is best to, in a sense, stop the cycle of relationships and try to figure out what you want, what you expect from a partner. Once you know that, it's going to be much easier to actually find someone that is going to fulfill you. And with that person, you will not be bored at all, even after 5, 10, 15 years. So here, Tanvir actually pointed out the fact that it might also be a lack of mental stimulus, and that is the other side of the coin. It might not just be you, it might not just be that you want someone new, it might be that you're with someone who is boring to you. And if that's the case, then once again, this is because the person is not the right one for you. You might, as a man, have a tendency to pursue partners that will not challenge you. And unlike what you might think, this is not a good thing. Ending up with a woman that says yes to your every whim or always agrees with you or is just going to follow your will blindly might look good on paper, because I know that a lot of men want this, they want a submissive woman, but understand that a submissive woman is never going to provide you with the type of stimulus that would help in your growth, and you might end up bored of that person. One of my best friend is like this. He's a funny guy. Every single time he ended up with a nice, kind girl, he would get bored of her, cheat on her, or move on to someone else as quickly as he could. The only women he stuck with were the ones that gave him shit, nagged him, and were overall terrible people. That was a flaw of his. He could not stand a relationship without any stimulus. It might very well be that you are the same, in which case I would tell you to try and think about what this particular trait and characteristic is going to do to you in the future. Now, let's talk a bit about the nature of love, because here there's also the notion of the fact that it could also be that the relationship died because there was no love between them to begin with. This also might happen to you as a man. You will get into a relationship, you will be infatuated, and you'll tell yourself, this is love. This most likely is not love, it's lust. It's extremely easy to fall in lust with others, especially as a man to women. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to look at a girl at the supermarket and you're going to fall in lust with her because we're biologically engineered for this. That is not love. But if you confuse the two, you're going to be all in for relationships that clearly are not going to pan out, clearly are never going to go anywhere because you have a tough time distinguishing between your sexual attraction towards that person and an attachment that goes deeper than this. Understand also that for the most part, this love that we talk about will never manifest itself at first. It's impossible to say that you're in love after 2 weeks. Most of the time, relationships that end up with genuine love and attachment started as lust. I personally see lust as a necessary step in every relationship. You begin dating the person because you want to bone them, but eventually something else happens. And this ties with what I said at the beginning. Every new relationship is exciting, but after a while, the excitement dies. And what is left? Well, what is left is what you should have cultivated while the lust was still around, and that is love. Once lust is gone, love remains. And love is a forever fire, as forever as one can actually call anything. It's something that can last you a lifetime if you feed it and if you know how to actually keep it alive. Lust will go out. You cannot keep lust alive. Lust is a firework. If you are the type that only sustains themselves on lust, you will have a ton of relationships, but nothing stable and nothing actually fulfilling. So you have to learn how to love. And if you are lucky, you will be with someone else that is also going to learn how to love, and you're going to be able to learn together. Once that is done, you should be good. Once love is created between two humans, as long as they are dedicated to that love and they actually take care of it, because love is a lot of work, then you have something solid, something that you can actually bank on. And this is when you have a good relationship. This is when you will not have to worry about getting bored anymore because it will not matter. You will be in love. Many people question the very nature of love. They will point it out as only being a biological impulse. To this, I say that they are technically correct. Love is biological because it starts as lust. Lust is only purely that. It's instinctual. It's the desire to reproduce. I believe, however, that we enter an enlightened state of this biological imperative once we fall in love, which is why I also think that love outside of the romantic view that we have of it is something that is worth acquiring, if only because it is rare and because I think it takes you to the next level. Falling in love is difficult, maintaining love is difficult, and anyone who has managed to keep love alive for a very long time is worthy of respect and someone you should take advice from. So that was for the first question. As you see, a very interesting question indeed. Now let's move on to Sergeant Yeager, who asks, in your girlfriend video, there was a point when you alluded to dodging situations when your girl tries to play the emotional game, to intentionally manipulate you or win an argument that she knows she was losing. Could you talk a little more about that? Well, I'm not a girlfriend, I have a woman in my life that plays that game, and it sucks dealing with. Absolutely, let's talk about that a bit. So as I said previously, and I've said multiple times, women and men are not the same, first and foremost, and two, they do not deal with their emotions the same way. Women are emotional creatures. Men also have emotions, but women are constantly soaked in them to the point that they become very adept at them, which does not mean that they master them at all. These are different things. But you will find out that whenever your girl starts losing ground, or she starts to feel threatened, or she loses an argument, she will try to drag you onto the realm of emotions because she knows that she can play her game better there and she has a very high chance of winning. And usually arguments like this end very poorly for men because you are arguing with logic and before you know it, you are now in a room of emotions and you lost. You lose because once it starts being about emotions, it stops being about facts and reason, and it's about the way people feel. And your woman has a huge advantage on this because the way she feels is constantly changing. An emotion for a woman is a matter of seconds or maybe minutes. For you, it might be longer. You will lose at that game because she will flip-flop between emotions so fast that your head will start to spin and you will not know in which room you are. So, how exactly do you dodge that situation? Well, first, before I tell you the secret, let's explain why you should dodge it. It's because if you allow your woman to constantly engage in what I call spiral argumentations and arguments, it will reinforce a pattern of behavior that is going to actually breed conflict within the couple, a conflict that actually is going nowhere. The reason why your woman starts these arguments with you for the most part is because she needs attention and she needs to be reassured. You come into it with your logic to find solutions which she does not want. So you're both losing because none of you are looking at the problem the proper way. In this case, what you want is you want to shut it down as fast as possible, give her what she wants, which is the reassurance and the attention, and end it so as to not enter these spirals of emotions that could lead to grievances down the line that could damage the relationship. What you do is this. First and foremost, you refuse to let her drag you into the realm of emotions. You stay with the facts. The way you feel and the way she feels does not matter in this case. Either it's about a solution that has to be found, in which case you get to stay logical, you get to stay factual, or she insists on the fact that it's not about that and she wants to be listened to, in which case you do listen to her, but you also make it clear that this was never about anything factual in the first place. This sounds a little bit cryptic, but once you practice it, it'll be easier. And I see here that you're telling me it's not even your girlfriend, it's a woman in your life that plays that game. It could be your mom, it could be a friend, it could be a cousin, whatever. As long as you are not actually playing the game, you win the game. So you stay emotionally detached and you understand that this doesn't really matter. As much emotions as the woman is going to actually power your way. Even if she's crying, I know it's tough because when we see a woman crying, our first instinct is to just protect her, to do whatever for her. These tears in 10 minutes will mean nothing to her. It's a phase. It's an emotional phase. She will flip out of it like this and she'll be perfectly fine. So don't let yourself get dragged into it. Stay cold-headed, stay logical, approach it logically. If she wants to talk, just listen to her, but don't engage. I think that's the best advice I can give you. Do not engage. Just lend an ear. For the most part, it's what women want in these situations. They want the attention and the reassurance. Once that is done, move on or say, okay, that's another good thing that you have to keep in mind. Do not let that become baggage for you because it certainly will not be baggage for her. It would be a bad idea to start resenting her for this because to her, she just did what she does naturally and she's thinking nothing of it. She will forget about this conversation. You will not, and this now means that the conversation becomes your burden. It doesn't burden her, so don't let it burden you. In a sense, it is a very manipulative approach to arguments, the way women argue. But I also want you to keep in mind that for the most part, they're not doing that on purpose, meaning that they're not actively trying to break you down. They're trying to see if you can be broken down, and the two are different. The result could be the same. If you fell and you fall for that, you will be broken down, and then you will both lose. Her because she will have proven to herself that you're not worthy, and you because, well, you will have lost the respect of the woman that you love. And on top of that, you will have ended up in a myriad of arguments that could have been best avoided if you had understood that it was never about the argument in the first place. It was about the way she felt or she wanted to feel. Next question by Oscar Walders. What do you think is the right course of action for getting back on track with dating? For someone who has had dating experience in the past, but I've gone so long without any sort of experience with women that mentally they have basically regressed into a fake self due to a loss of skill. A fake self, for those of you who are not aware, is a fake incel. How would someone like this begin to put themselves back out there, and how would they prevent their lack of recent experience from becoming a problem and something that turns potential partners away? Okay, so first and foremost, the only difference between Oscar here and an incel is that Oscar is celibate, but not by involuntary choice. In this case, it's because he decided to distance himself from the scene, but he still has something that connects him to incels, which is the fact that he lacks experience and therefore he also has lost his touch with women. You could argue that incels never had that touch in the first place, but in both cases, that comes from this. It comes from the fact that you have not been in contact with femininity for a very long time. And what can happen to men when this occurs is that they start to resent it. Because every single man deep down desires the feminine essence. We all want it. Some of us get it, some of us don't. And those that don't start to resent it because it's a natural instinct of the human mind. If we are shunned by something that we love, we start to hate it in return as a defense mechanism so as not to have to suffer alone. I see nothing here that points to that fact. So that's already a very good thing. It means that you will not have to relearn how to love women. Now, your issue is that, again, you're out of touch. So you most likely will not understand women very well. You will not understand their traps and the way they act or interact with others. What I would recommend in your case is it's an exposure therapy of sorts. You need to get it back into the game, but jumping back into dating immediately is a bad idea. You need to get back into women first. So try to see if you can make connections with other women. It could be friendship, it could be just in passing a conversation, anything. Having the ability to talk to a woman without thinking that she's an extraterrestrial is already a superpower. Because once you have that under control, then you can start to develop certain types of skills that are more connected with talking to women. You start neutral, then you specialize. So try to see if you can again make friends, make connections. And then you can start to move onto the dating scene. Not necessarily with the women you will have made connections with. That actually might be a bad idea. You will use these women, quote unquote, use as a stepping stone. But once that is done, you will be able to move on with more ease. And I think that you will know when you're ready, when you can have a full conversation with a woman without losing your marbles, without losing your nerves, and without feeling the need to impress her. It's quite telling with men who are disconnected from women because every time they're put in the presence of one, they spug out because they think to themselves, okay, this is the one. Right? This is my one chance, and if I don't get it, then I will never see another woman in my life. This is horrible, of course, because the women sense that and they hate it because they hate any level of desperation. And for you, it's also bad because it will start to breed, in a sense, a needy type of behavior that you want to avoid as much as possible. Now, the question of putting yourself back out there as a man is also a question of making it known that you're available, but again, without looking too desperate. So there are ways to do that, right? And for the most part, it's body language. I don't want you going around and telling to women, oh, I'm free. Like, they know you're free. Most likely, if you talk to them, it's because you want something to do with them. So they know for a fact that you're a free agent. The way to let them know that is more going to be with certain inclinations of the voice, certain sentences, being a little bit more aggressive than you would normally with someone that is just a friend. Initiating touch. Initiating touch is big once you end up in this interpersonal space. And I'm not saying like grabbing her by the hips. I'm saying stuff like touching her shoulder, touching her hand, like pushing her when she makes you laugh. These are basic things, but based on the way she responds, if she actually likes you, she will most likely mimic these behaviors and she will initiate touch as well. So that will be a good sign that not only are you back into the game, but you're on the field now. Now you're actually starting to play. So that's that. It's this acclimation period that you're going to have to go to. If you jump all of the steps I just outlined and you jump right into the touching random women, you will end up on some sort of list. I can guarantee you this, because the skill that you will develop by talking to women is the ability to read them. Women are open books for the most part. it is extremely easy to know if a woman likes you based on the way she responds to your interactions and the way she interacts back. A lot of men have absolutely no clue about that whatsoever. They cannot read signals, they don't understand signs, and so they're constantly clueless and they say, well, does this girl like me? I can't tell. Or they will not be able to tell obvious signs that a certain woman likes them because they will mistake it for friendship, etc., etc. You could read books about this, and I could give you signs, I already gave you some, but the best way, again, is direct experience. And as you outlined, the reason why you want this direct experience is because you could very well one day meet the one, quote unquote, the one, someone that could actually be a great partner. But because you're going to behave like a weirdo or you will not be able to actually communicate properly, you will turn that person away. You don't want to turn that person away, so practice. It's like anything in life. You want to get better, you practice. And we have a follow-up question that is in line with what I just described by Kaizen Productions. In school or college, what is the best way to ask out a girl you have a class or club with, assuming you didn't know her before the class or club? So, great question. It's going to be practical. Before we get into the practical aspect, however, I would like to discuss a very important aspect of the female mind that is key to understand. So, the way women behave when it comes to finding a mate is this. They look at the tribe and they, through the tribe, try to understand whether or not you are safe and whether or not you are worth actually putting efforts in. Meaning that if a woman knows you through a friend and the friend can vouch for you being a good guy, that's already half the battle won. Because there's social proof that points to you being a potential good mate. It's also the reason why many men report that they seem to be much more attractive to women when they're in a relationship, and they say, well, how gives? Why exactly am I more attractive now that I am taken? Well, it is because you are taken. Now that you're taken, you have a stamp of approval on your forehead that says boyfriend material, because it means another woman actually said, hey, this guy is actually pretty nice and I'm dating him. So now they want you. It's even worse when you start having kids and you are married, because now not only are you clearly a good boyfriend, you're also clearly a good provider and a good patriarch. And in that case, you are bait for many women who waited too long to get a boyfriend or to make kids, and who know that they can, in a sense, speedrun the entire thing by getting you. Because if they got some random fucker their age, they would have to go through the stages of romance and relationships first, then establish themselves in a home, then get married, then have kids. It's too long. It takes 5-6 years. They could just get you, because you have already been domesticated to do all of these things. This is a little bit out of topic, but this I say because here he actually underlines the fact that it's a girl in his class or club. Half the battle is already won. You have something in common with her. That's big. That's actually the number one thing. When you approach a girl, many guys don't know what they are supposed to say at first. What you're supposed to do at first is this. Establish a common interest. Once you do, the door is open, because that common interest is something that she shares with you, that gives her information about you, and therefore serves as social proof. So that's great, but understand one thing. You're not the only male in this class or club, and there are many guys, you're not slick, we see you, who go into these clubs, these like pottery or whatever, because they know that they can meet women there. And that's a good plan, that's a great plan. But if I know it, women also know it. So that girl might be on her guard. Also, if it's a class, she might be there to study, she's not there to find love. So you have a lot of things to actually get right before you can get there. Now, let's get practical. In school, you're young, all right? So I'm assuming you're young, you're in college, so you're in your 20s or in your teens, all right. The way you do it is this. This is something that I've personally always done when I had a crush on a girl in the class. First and foremost, you try to create contact, be it verbal or physical. How do you establish verbal contact? Well, you introduce yourself to her. It's better if you can be introduced by a friend of yours that is friends with her. This is also why being social, and men who are social have a much higher chance of scoring a girlfriend, is because you are connected with many people who can then connect you to a woman, and your social proof and your social network is massive. People who are shut-ins, people who are not social, have lesser chances of getting girlfriends. So even if you're not social, try to talk to people, because this guy you're going to befriend that's a bit weird might know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows your future wife. This is why actually being social is very important to get laid or to get relationships. That was for the verbal introduction. So you present yourself, you introduce yourself. Here's my name, blah, blah, blah. You try to find a common interest. She's in your class. Did she pick the class? She's in college. If it's an elected class, this means that she cares about this. Talk to her about it. A club, even better. A club should be something that she cares about. So now you have an established point of interest. Start here. Don't try to get intimate too fast. Don't try to know too much about her life too fast. Start with the surface level and then see how much she opens up. Another way to get physical contact with a woman is not to go hug her like a creep, but to sit next to her. Say, hey, is this seat open? If she says yes, great, sit down. Don't start anything here. You already established contact. You are physically close to her. This is already a great start. This is going to develop a relationship, not necessarily a friendship, but a relationship between two humans. You're going to know her name, see her every day. You're going to become part of her routine. And from there, you can escalate. You can start becoming a little bit more intimate in your conversations. Try to learn more about her. Do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? What is your favorite sport, etc.? And then at some point, you're going to have to take the plunge, because this is the part where you are tiptoeing in between the abyss and heaven. This is the part where a lot of men fail because they wait too long and the window closes. You are about to become this girl's friend. If you don't take action now, in her head you will be, what is your name? Kaizen. You will be Kaizen, the friend. And at this point, it's fucked. So you have to smell it out. There is a certain moment where you will have to ask her out. Doesn't have to be a big gesture with flowers. Ask her out for something silly. Hey, you want to go for a walk like in the park? It's so nice outside. Use an excuse. Don't make it about romance. Just say, hey, I would like to go do this and I enjoy your company. I would like to do it with you. Let's grab coffee. Don't make it a date. Don't make it official. She knows what this means, okay? If you have done it early enough, she knows. If she actually shows up thinking it's a friend date, then you waited too long. But this is, once you have established this, you are on the right path, in my opinion. You are now more than just an acquaintance, you're someone that she willingly spends time with. And this is the moment where, if everything goes right, you're going to be able to be flirty. Flirtiness, sorry, my voice is going for some reason. Flirtiness is an important skill to develop, but beyond just the active skill of flirting, what matters the most about being flirty is your timing. If you are a great flirt, but you do it improperly at the wrong time, you are going to look like a creep. There are moments to flirt. And once again, if you understand women, it is very easy to tell whether a woman likes you flirting with her or not. So pay attention, okay? It's something that I said in the past, it was misunderstood by some people. This is why I say that consent is not really a thing. Verbal consent is not really a thing. Bodily consent and bodily gestures convey consent better than words ever could. The reason why we now live in the age of verbal consent is because we all suck at body language. We don't know how to read it anymore. I can guarantee you that if you know how to read the body language of a woman, the expression of her face and the light in her eyes, you will not have to ask, because you will know exactly what she likes and what she does not like. But I'm going above the boundaries of your question. So I gave you all of the ways to ask a girl out, and now it is up to you to tug, you give your balls a good tug and actually get it done. Let's move on to question number 5 by Zalfrim. In your dating advice video, you stated that you are a hermit and also didn't care for money at all. I have similar proclivities, so I'm curious how you found a partner in the first place and how important financial stability was for her, since you are planning on having a family. Okay, interesting question. I'll try to be as intricate as possible without getting too personal. So for me, it was my partner that picked me, meaning that she's the one who actually courted me. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was in a place in my life where I had many opportunities and many options. So I just saw her as one of the options. She was one of the many girls I was seeing. But bit by bit, with very strong patience, she made me realize that I was wasting my time with these other girls and that it would be much smarter to actually focus on her. You could also just say that she made me fall in love. I fell in love with her, and then I just pushed back all of the other ones, and I said, all right, I'm going to dedicate myself to you. I know that not many women watch this channel, but if you are one, my advice would be to not go for womanizers in the first place because it's a lot of work. You should find a guy that already understands the value of commitment. But if you end up with a crush for a guy who might have a lot of girls or might be very popular or attractive, and you really want him, it's going to be a lot of work and he's going to have to realize that by himself. I'm going outside of the boundaries of the question, I'm sorry, but I said this to say that for me, I never had to force myself to go for money or status or power because I had a girl who liked me for what I was outside of these things. Now, this does not mean that she doesn't care about these things at all. She's a woman. Women are very material oriented, they're materialistic for a simple reason. I mean, they're smart. They understand that this is the way the world works. And on top of this, our biology dictates that for a very long time, for a woman to survive, she needed to have someone who could provide for her. So I always love when I see men who blame women for being gold diggers. Why exactly are they like this? They're like this because it was their only way to survive in the past. They couldn't get a job. Now, we live in an age where women make their own money, but it doesn't stop them from wanting more money because they're also the ones that should push for a family, and having a family is extremely expensive. So most women will not take it kindly if you don't work hard or if you don't bring enough bacon home, to the point where you might be with someone that loves you but also pesters you all the time to get more stuff done and to get more money for her. If she's honest, she'll be upfront. If she's not, she'll find ways around it. Regardless of this, you'll be in a situation where you have someone who is trying to challenge you to get better. In a sense, that's exactly what they do. And I think that's a great thing. I personally credit women for the progress that we have, even technological progress. I think that if women didn't exist, we wouldn't have invented stuff. I think that most inventions were by men who tried to impress women, one way or the other. Look at all of these guys with sports car. Some of them do it because they like sports car, lots of them do it because they like women. So this is a very important part of relationships that needs to be preserved and should never be destroyed. Because then it's going to lead to an environment where you're going to be able to have a stable family with enough resources to take care of her. Now, the question is, what if I don't want to make more money? I'm exactly like this. Look at this channel. What the fuck am I doing? I'm actually spending thousands of hours on something that brings no money home. But it's what I love to do. So you have to be able to find a balance between your money-making endeavors and your passions. It's fine to not be materialistic and it's fine to not give a fuck about wealth. In this case, regard wealth as a tool, regard wealth as something to be used. If you can have that approach, you will have a very easy time to just get as much as needed. Now, how much is needed? Well, if you have a woman that is extremely resource oriented, she might ask for too much. And this is when you need to find someone else. You need to find someone that is not going to be obsessed with wealth, because it might well be that this is going to break you down at some point. You will turn your back on your passions, you will become a different person. And that is horrible. Even for the sake of having a family, you will not be happy. So you won't be a good partner, you won't be a good father. Instead, find someone that you can align with, or you can have clear-headed discussions saying, okay, I will make this much. Is this okay with you? And if she says yes, then you're good. That should be perfectly fine. And then there's the hermit part. So you didn't spend much time on it, but I want to talk about it because it's important. More than money and resources, women really value social skills in a man, because it is this ability to be social that is going to ensure that you're going to be able to connect with others, which is going to protect the family. You see, community is extremely important to women. They place community at the center of pretty much everything. So if you're the type of person that never connects with others and is a lone wolf, I mean, the issue in this scenario is that if anything happens to you, your woman is on her own. Whereas if you actually had friends, neighbors, people connected to you, she knows that if something bad happens to you, the provider and the protector, she will get someone else to actually take care of this. It also means that if you're the type who does not like social interactions, you're going to have to some level or another to force yourself. It's personally what I do. I personally don't really like people. I don't like spending time around people. But when my wife tells me, hey, I would like to go meet my friends, or I would like for us to spend an afternoon with these people, I say, okay, let's do it. For an afternoon, I'll be very social, and I can be social, I can be charismatic if I want to be, because I know why I'm doing this, right? I'm doing this for my wife. It makes her happy, so I will absolutely do this. It's the same as with money. If you can find a pragmatical approach to this, even though you don't give a fuck about it, you will be able to do it for the sake of the relationship. Hopefully, your woman also does things like this for you, or she understands that while she might not like it, it is for your sake and because it's something that you actually care about, in which case she should also do it. Always make sure that the two parties in the relationship put in similar amounts of efforts, or else it's not going to go very well. And now we are wrapping up this Q&A with the last question, the one that I find personally the most interesting, by Infinite Loop, because he had an infinite loop as a name. I have been dating my current girlfriend for 3 years. This is the girl I want to grow old with. Before I met my girlfriend, I was immersed in the red pill, sleeping with as many girls as possible and intentionally trying to manipulate and hurt as many as possible to try to make up for some social anxiety and subsequent rejections in my early teen years. After meeting my girlfriend, I began to distance myself from these beliefs, as she has truly made me a good person. However, there are still some toxic beliefs and behavior patterns I still hold, that coupled with my narcissism and anger issues lead to bad fights every now and then. I need to change for my girlfriend and would love your advice. Thank you. So great question. Because we are men and we're not angels, okay? We all have our demons, and that's fine. I have my demons as well. What matters the most is to be able to recognize them and then to have the willingness to fight them, which here this person has both, and that's already great. I believe that if you have both, you're already on the right path and you're better than the majority of the population. So, in this situation, and that also might apply to you one day, you're with a girl. Women tend to be in a relationship the vulnerable party, meaning that they are the ones that are the most at risk of physical violence, but also emotional violence, in the sense that you have the potential to break her down, especially if she's kind-hearted. I have found that, sadly for them, and thankfully for us, women who have the most love in their hearts tend to also be the ones that want to fix men, and they tend to be the ones that select men that have the most and the highest potential to hurt them in return. In this case, this person, Loop, we're going to call him Loop. Loop knows this. Loop has managed to diagnose himself. He knows who he is and what he is. He knows his demons. He also knows that there's a very high chance that these demons are going to hurt his girl. First and foremost, let's state the obvious. This woman picked him. She knows what she's getting into. This is not an excuse to hurt her. It's just that we need to establish this now, because for us to be able to move forward, we need to know that this woman loves you, Loop. She knows you for who you are. Anything that you change afterwards is going to make this love sustainable, because if something breaks, it's going to be because of you. So she's in the relationship, she's aware that she is with someone who was a womanizer, etc. You're aware of that as well. You recognize that you used to hurt women on purpose. Innocent women that did nothing to you, you hurt because you wanted, in a sense, to make them pay. You wanted to make them pay for what womanhood did to you, for what women in general did to you. I understand, I've been through that as well. I was rejected all throughout my teenage years, and then I got popular and I was like, damn, I'm going to do to these bitches what they did to me. So I played with the hearts of many women. But the net result was negative. I got hurt, I hurt others, and it did not make me happier. It did not make you happier either. What makes you happier is this woman. It's the love that she's providing you. Cling on to that, and always remember that in your dark moments, in the moments where you feel bad, where you feel like you want to hurt her, remember that she is the one that is going to help you the most, because as you have stated here, she's making you a better person. Women have the potential to make you a better person. What could happen in this case is that you're going to want to willingly sabotage this because you are afraid of that. And you could tell me, well, why would you be afraid of becoming a better person? It makes no sense. Demons and negative emotions and portions are very addictive because they're safe. We know what they do to us. It's fucked up to say, but a razor blade to the wrist might be more comfortable to many than a hug, because you don't know what the hug is going to awaken in you. The razor blade, you know what it does. It sheds your blood and it makes you feel pain. The pain is a comfortable result. It's somewhere that you've been times and times again. When you hurt your woman, In the case of loop, you're actually hurting yourself. You are trying to prevent yourself from actually feeling and experiencing happiness, maybe because you think that you don't deserve it. We're getting into the psychology of things here, but with many men, it's this. You've been rejected so much that you've integrated the idea that you're unlovable, and when someone loves you, you want to punish them for it. So it's important that you do that work, that inner work that helps you understand where all of these feelings are actually coming from. Come on. This is much better. Because once that is done, it's going to also ground you, and you're going to also be able to pinpoint where all of that is coming from. You see, it's not enough to know your demons. It's important to understand what triggered them in the past and what is going to trigger them now. What moments exactly trigger this bout of anger or this potential abuse session? Well, that's a horrible way to say it, but what makes you lash out at your loving girlfriend? If she's really nice, she might actually be willing to sit down with you and discuss these things so that you can figure it out together. If you can, try to figure out on your own, because if you can figure out the trigger and what created the trigger in the first place, you're going to be able to actually put an end to it. Now, I also want to point out that you have done some work to distance yourself from the toxic ideologies that actually poisoned you in the past, and that's very good. But understand that what you have consumed stays with you forever. Some of that is going to re-emerge, whether you want it or not. And now you have integrated certain notions that you will most likely never be able to unlearn. That is fine. As long as you can challenge these notions in these situations, you should be absolutely okay. But I want to reiterate the fact that the reason why I believe you can do this is because you have a keen ability to understand that you are at fault, and also to accept the fact that you have toxic beliefs and you have toxic patterns. You even go out as far as to call yourself narcissistic. I'm going to tell you something. I've had many encounters with vulnerable narcissists in particular in my life. They never admit that they're narcissistic, ever. So if you have this ability, it means that you are self-aware. Self-awareness is the first step towards change. And I think that we've already started changing. This message was posted 7 months ago, so I don't know if you're still here, if you changed, if something bad happened between the two of you. I hope you guys are still together, but if you are still there and if you are still struggling with these demons, the next step is this. It's going to be a battle of love. You cannot kill your demons with hate. Love comes from your girlfriend. Your girlfriend is going to be an anchor that is going to allow you to understand that you're worthy of love. She's there to prove that to you. Don't push her away. It's tempting because you want to get back to the hood. Don't push her away. Use her to anchor yourself and to do the work, to do the self-love work, because through her love, you will be able to love yourself. She will teach you how to love. It's what I said at the start. Love is something that you learn with a partner. It's best to be able to actually love yourself by yourself, but for many people, it's something that you're going to relearn with someone else. And once you start loving yourself, all of these toxic beliefs that you have will disappear, because the toxic notions that you hold about yourself that are untrue, but that lead you to behave the way that you think you should behave because of the perception of yourself, will also evaporate eventually. And hopefully, this will lead to a very stable and very happy relationship with this woman, because you will not only not hurt her, you will also be able to be the best person that you can be for her as well. And that is going to be that for this Q&A. So I hope that I answered your questions. I hope that it helped people, even if you're not the person who asked the question. If you have any more, let me know in the comments. I'm going to try and help you as much as I can with my little experience as a guy who's married and who's trying to become a better man and a better husband and a better father eventually one day. I have many questions that you asked in the past, but more are always welcome. I realize that I've been slacking on these Q&As, so I want to bring them back. The natural Q&As, the improvement Q&A that I'm going to inaugurate, and the hypertrophy Q&A as well will make a more regular comeback on the channel, because I really like being able to just be it should just be straight up and to not have to think and not have to look at scripts. It's great to just be able to talk to you guys directly. So that is going to be that for tonight. Thank you for watching. Thanks to the guy that made the timestamps again. I appreciate it. And I'll see you very soon.